Good morning. Happy Wednesday. I want to dig in today talking about revision. And it's something that I know we've done all year, but I think it's always something that we can, go back to and revise, right? So I think it's an important part for us to learn the process of writing, and we know how essential this particular step in the writing process is. So I'm guessing by now, I'm hoping that you have uploaded your module sheet this week. And when you've done that, you've noticed that you are answering in turnitin.com. So if you go to your turnitin.com account, you need to make sure that you find the discussion tab. And when I log into that, it will take me to my inbox. Remember, this is not new. We did this earlier in the year and last week. So we've kind of got the handle. This is like about our fourth time in here. So let's click on discussion. And then obviously we're not reading any of those. We're clicking on night. So I'm going to click on night. And my assignment was to answer. I mean, I can read it again, but choose one of the following questions. I'm going to read the entire directions, and then I need to respond to 3 of the peers, remember. So if I look here, I'll go ahead, I would click reply to put my answer in. Click reply. And then I'm going to do what the directions say, and I'll enter my comment here. That's as easy as it is. And then I just click submit. Okay, that's all I have to do. But then I also need, remember the other part of the prompt is for me to respond to 3 other peers, students that have answered. So to do that, just to remind you and refresh your memory, you are going to go out and read them and then pick 3 that you think you could elaborate on or you have more to say. You have some questions about, you agree with or disagree. And then remember, you need evidence that's from the text to support your answer. You can believe whatever you want to believe, but you need to prove why you think, feel, or believe what you do about the piece of literature. I would just read these. And then if I'm like, oh yeah, I want to respond to that one, then I just click reply and I just respond to that individual. It's as easy as that. And then I go through and find 2 more. And then I'm finished with that for the week. Your assessment this week, remember, was writing a memoir. And that was just a short little 500 to 800 word piece moment of your life. Many of you have emailed with questions about a good topic and what that is. And there are as many people in the world, there are that times 100 possible things I could write about. But pick something that you could write in a short, remember this is only about 2 pages usually, so it's not very long. So you need to make sure you can say everything you need to say in 500-ish words, which can be, I think, sometimes harder than being able to write a 10-page paper. So you are limited in that. I'm going to show you a student sample today. We're going to walk through our RADaR revisions, and then I'm also going to give you an extra credit opportunity. Before we begin that, I would encourage you to please check PowerSchool. Many of you didn't do your 2 assignments from last week, and I need you to be doing that so I know, what do you know? What do I need to reteach? What do you have a pretty good handle on? And I think you're ready to move on, or you've mastered that. So I need to know what you know, so please get those in. You'll notice in PowerSchool, the zeros are taking place when you don't have your assignment in. If I haven't graded it yet, just like it's always been all year, it's just a dash. But if I have graded it, it will say 0 and there'll be a missing sign there. Please do not worry about late work at this time. It's a moot point. I'm taking all of your work, but I need it obviously in a logical amount of time. The window on electronic posting has to close at some point. Like when your teachers post an assignment, there has to be a due date for that. But know that I'll get those into me, and I'll grade them and put them in PowerSchool as soon as I evaluate them. So don't worry about the zeros, just get them in. There are no need for late passes right now. Until we are back in the classroom, everything is open and fluid. Now those assessments those quizzes that you take, or in this case, it's a little piece of writing, those do have a finalized due date. And I can go back in and reopen them, but I have to always be doing that. So it's great if you can do it on time. And it's intended to be, the check of what you did that week. That's ideal. So stay on top of that. If for some reason you're not able to do your assignments, or for some reason you're not understanding them, please email me. Let me know. Come into the online office hours that I have for 3 hours during the day. Let me know. I can't read your mind. I don't know what you're thinking or what you're struggling with until you tell me. Okay? And I'm happy to walk you through that in the online Zoom format or just answer it in an email. But I need to know. So please read the module sheets that I give you. Read all the resources that I type up and print for you, the Mrs. PM paper. Watch these videos. And, most importantly, stay in communication. Communicate so that I know what's going on. All right, let's talk a little bit about extra credit. I am going to offer each week just some simple extra credit. So for example, you will go out once during the week. It'll be on a Wednesday. I'll try to post them on Wednesday. And you don't get all week. This is to really encourage you to watch those videos. Watch them on Monday and watch them on Wednesday. Because what I say or what I'm doing, I think is important. Otherwise, I wouldn't have spent the time teaching it. And I want to make sure that you're watching them or you're reading what I put out there. So I'll give like this little things, like today's it might say, what were the 3 words that I wrote on my board? And if you can read that, it says revise, revise, revise. So that might be a question for extra credit. So just, look at those. If you want to answer them, great. If you don't, that's fine. They're extra. They don't hurt your grade at all if you don't do them, but they will expire that week. So you won't be able to go back and rewatch, 2 weeks later. They're intended to keep you up, keep you engaged in class, keep you checking in every other day at least. So I'm hoping that you're still coming or attending class. All right, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to look at a sample. Here is a student sample that I have been provided to me with permission, and I'm going to share that. And we're just going to walk through this essay, not in entirety, but just to, walk through that revision process again, knowing that it's, one and done is not the world of writing. Remember what I said in your video, that your first draft is really just you telling yourself the story. Before you put it out to an audience or before you publish it, it needs to go through many revision steps. And that's when we have worked all year with our RADaR revisions. This is in the writing section of your notebook. And if you don't have it, I know many of you have your notebooks at school, you can just look right here. It's the same thing that we've done all year, but it's the replace, add, delete, and reorder. And when you pull up your rubric that you're being scored on for I'll pull it up here, for this particular piece, just a second here, you are going to find that it is lined up exactly with this particular portion of the revisions. So let's do that here. So here's our rubric that we're working with. And if you look down here, keep going, it's organized. Oh, it's not. This is just a second here. Let's close this one. I opened the wrong one here. Just a second. Sorry. So if I look down here and I scroll the second page, it says right here, if I look at my conventions, RADaR revisions are evident. That means it's going to be obvious to me that you've gone through these steps of revision. So read that rubric carefully as you're creating your final draft and you're taking that rough draft or your first or second draft into that final draft stage. And you can do it electronically, just like we're going to do here. You don't have to do the colored pencils that we usually do in class. Usually we pick a color for this and then take a break, and then the next day do a color for this and a different color for that, take a break, and then do this one. But you can do it electronically, which is what we're going to do today. So the topic of this particular memoir that she is sharing, it is a female, and she has chosen her topic to be about just a memory she has about a winter or an autumn fall day where she was roasting marshmallows. And that seems pretty like a normal, average, ordinary, everyday thing that many people would do. Okay. Here's her title: The Unexpected Dangers of Roasting Marshmallows. So already we have a pretty catchy title. Like, we don't usually think that roasting marshmallows is very dangerous, do we? So what I want to make sure you do, and this is, what we've talked about a lot in class, is, check this title out. It's not, doesn't have to be done the first thing. Sometimes it's the last thing you write, but it should give us a glimpse, a little taste of what the piece will be about. And hers does that. It does tell us that it's an unexpected danger. So something is going to probably go wrong, we would guess, with this average, ordinary task of roasting a marshmallow. We want to make sure that we center that. So I'm going to center that for her. If we look just at her formatting, we can tell that it's not an MLA format. So we just quickly would highlight it. And we're going to, this, 1-inch margins, double space, Times New Roman 12, right? And we have memorized that by now. 1-inch margins, double space, Times New Roman 12. And then I have that ready to go. So I know that it looks, hopefully it looks exactly how it's supposed to. Now I'm going to go ahead and notice that her first paragraph has not been indented. So these are just formatting, right? This is not a huge deal, but we are getting into the habit of having everything MLA formatted. So we want to make sure it does look right to us. Here's her introductory paragraph. Now remember, on the how-to sheet that I gave you, I told you that memoir writing is not formulaic in nature. It's one of the beauties of personal narrative, that style of writing. However, you still need an attention. You still need that. Your ant should still be your introductory paragraph. It still has to grab our attention, hook our reader, pull them in, give us some necessary background, and then your thesis will really be the topic, or maybe if it's a lesson you learned or something you walked away with, that's going to be presented as we head into the body of the essay. So it will usually be that last sentence of your introductory paragraph. Not necessary, it doesn't have to be, but just one way to think about it. So her attention grabber here is, autumn is like eating a hot fudge sundae. You'll notice here what she has done is she has used a simile. Okay? And we've worked with similes, and we've worked, this year, hopefully, with metaphors that you remember. But this is a great way to grab our attention. We would normally not compare a season with a dessert, but she does that to pull us in. And then if you look at your graphic organizer, we talked about senses, and she tries that here. It smells good, looks good, and tastes even better. So we're hooked in. We want to read about this dessert and, the senses that are associated, all the sensory images with that dessert. Sue, my sister, and I had invited a couple of friends over after dinner before our weekly Saturday get-togethers, necessary girl time. So this I would, look at. She uses a dash here to emphasize these Saturday get-togethers are necessary girl time. So she's using that to create some voice. But when I'm looking at my very first step of revision, I'm looking at replacing. So what I do is I just go through this piece, and I am looking for words I use too often, words that are unclear, words that maybe are weak. Remember, we call those weak and wimpy words. Remember, you don't want a weak and wimpy word. You want strong, vivid, image-creating words. You're trying to paint a picture for your reader of this moment in time, or recreate it for them. If I just look through this, I can see, said is a really weak word. Is there another word I could replace that with? Could I say declared, laughed? This isn't really a lot of emotion here. Let's build a campfire and roast marshmallows. But maybe I, jump up and exclaim. Maybe we're doing something else, and I want to this is out of the ordinary. So it's not that there's anything wrong with said, but we would make sure that is there something else I could use? Like here she used called, which is better. I love this image here, her sweet tooth called. Great word choice. That's giving that personification when we're talking about those literary devices. Like I'm making a tooth do something that is usually associated with a person. And we don't really have like in our mouth a sweet tooth necessarily, right? We use that as an analogy for a craving that we have. So great word choice here. But we can look here and say, as I keep continuing on, I know that she uses the word perfect a lot. So I would just look for that word. Let's indent here again. She does also, if we talk about word choice, we talk about looking at the choices she uses. I want to find I thought she uses perfect a lot. Oh, here, sorry, let me go back to the top. I'm reading this here too. Here, so the meal as I envisioned, it was a perfect fall evening. I could hardly wait to started with the perfect fall. And so we're using perfect. So we want to see if we can somehow, then we have perfectly again here. So you can see that redundancy. Is there another word she could use? Or remember, sometimes one of our rhetorical strategies as writers, we are intentionally using repetition, right? We want that word over and over again to drive home a point. You just have to think of your intent as a writer. If you didn't intend to do that and it's not creating something intentional for your reader, then find a different word if you can. So I just do that through my piece. I'm looking at replacing. We're going to replace. Now I'm going to go and look at also, once I've done the words and the word choice, I want to look maybe at how I start my sentences. Remember, we call that fluency. Remember in class one day we went through just one paragraph and we circled every first word of every paragraph. And it's harder to do on electronically, but you could highlight it. And are you starting your sentences the same way? I could, I passed, I thought, I shish kebabbed. Is there another way we could do that? In class, we talked about moving our subject around a little bit. I could envision, I could hardly wait. So just think about, is there another way we could start that? Because I don't think she is intentionally doing this. I think it's just a default that she is going to as a writer. Okay, so that's what we want to look at. So once I've replaced everything, then I want to go back and see if I can add. Is there anywhere I can add descriptions? Can I make it more vivid? Can I add new information? Maybe the reader needed a little bit. Like if I'm talking about a person, do they need to know a little bit more about who they are, about their personality? The last thing I'll do is I'm going to delete this for Mrs. P. This is the hardest part for me as a writer. As I think you know when I shared with you before, I overwrite. I put in lots of words that I do not need, that just sound flowery, but my reader doesn't need them. You need to find this balance between being descriptive, creating voice, at the same time being clear and concise. Just get your point out there without all the extra fluff. So you don't want your reader to get lost in the fluff and really lose the point and the purpose of why you were writing. So I'll do that. I'll go through it. And I'm looking to see somewhere I can take things out. Do I need to know that they were getting their own forks? Is that important? If it is, keep it. If it's not, then get rid of it. And the last thing I'm doing is reordering. This is to look at events. Remember, I talk about, we don't want popcorn writing. It might make sense to you, but you have to take your reader on a very logical journey in your piece. You don't just want to throw them off the cliff. You want them to follow the path safe and sound and get to your point. So that's what you'll do just walking through those revisions. And it will probably take you about 15, 20 minutes because this is a shorter piece. So that would be my guess. When you're finished with all of that, then you'll be ready to go back, make sure you have followed the how-to sheet, you have an introductory paragraph, Here, we talked about the attention grabber. She gives us some necessary information about what's going on that day. And then she has her thesis, or not really a thesis in a memoir piece, but her topic that she's going is right here. She talks about, I could hardly wait to get started with the perfect fall, perfectly innocent, seemingly enough. I would reword that task as marshmallow roasting. So we know this whole memoir is going to be about this perfect moment where she was roasting marshmallows. Let's just go. And then remember, there's no perfect amount of paragraphs. Speaking of perfect, there's not a set amount of paragraphs in memoir writing. It's several paragraphs. They should all be indented, for us, so we know when the new idea is coming about your topic. You're shifting in time, maybe, or the event, or just the next chronological step in that piece. And then her conclusion is just really simply, what did she learn about out of this? Or it depends on her purpose, right? Is she trying to inform and explain? We talked about that as one purpose of memoir writing. Is she persuading us? Is she entertaining us? And maybe she's doing a combination of two or all of those at some point. So that will be very evident for sure in your conclusion, how you conclude this. I don't eat s'mores anymore. And that is not the only thing that's changed. Now, when the cool winds begin to blow and fall is in the air, I taste fresh apple cider, glazed donuts, and antibiotic cream. So that's part of her story about what happened and what she walked away with. And yes, she's trying to entertain us. She's also informing or explaining this event. So I think she does a combination of both, her purpose here. Okay. All right, so I want you to get started on yours now. Okay. I want you also, if you would like a little extra credit this week, you can email me your topic. Okay. But I want it by the end of the day today, which is Wednesday, so that I know that you're starting on something. You don't have to have anything written yet, but I want to know, what is your topic? What are you thinking of writing about? What do you think your purpose is going to be? Are you going to entertain? Are you going to persuade? Or are you going to inform and explain? Or all of those? So that will be some extra credit. If you email me that today on Wednesday by the end of the day, so by midnight tonight, I should see that. And it's just extra credit, but it does help me know, since I can't be in class with you, it gives me an idea of what you're thinking, just if I were to have a conversation with you walking around the classroom. So go ahead and do that today. All right, so that is it. If you have questions, pop into office hours today. I will be online at 10, at 1, and at 7 tonight. And shoot me an email. I'll respond to you. Or better yet, I'd love to see you. So come in and say hi. Have a great day. Right on.